Hey, everybody. It's 8:04 a.m. Eastern here in New York City. I'm Julie Roginski here with Michelle Kinney. It's also 8:04 a.m. here in New York City for another reason, and that is because New York is the media capital of the country and the world. And there's something going on in the media today, Michelle, that I want to talk about because it is newsworthy and it really does deserve to be in the A block here, which is how the corporate media has decided unilaterally to platform and normalize the most extremist, hateful rhetoric of all time. And if you want to know why we're slipping into autocracy, if you want to know why we're slipping into a dictatorship, if you want to know why Congress has abdicated its responsibilities and willingly ceded its power, Michelle, it is because of what is happening here. And I want you to play this clip of Andrew Ross Sorkin, who runs the Deal Book Summit. He works at the New York Times. He's an anchor at CNBC. He's a deeply accomplished man. He is the definition of the establishment, definition of corporate media, in that he covers corporations and he works for corporate media. It is a very big deal to be invited to speak at the Deal Book Summit in New York City. It is an honor, and it is kind of the Davos for newsmakers and the establishment in the United States. And I want you to play this clip of who Andrew Ross Sorkin platformed yesterday and what this person said. Why don't you go ahead?
Make of Mamdani here in New York. And the reason I ask is he was somebody who really actually was able to persuade the younger voter. I mean, he really captured, but obviously on the complete opposite end, if you will, of where someone like Charlie would have been.
You know, it's so interesting because I lived in Manhattan for a while and I loved this city. I'm going to come at this from a female voter because a high percentage of his voters were female. I think there's a tendency, especially when you live in a city like Manhattan, where, again, you are so career-driven and you almost look to the government as a form of replacement for certain things, relationship-wise even. So you see things a little bit differently. What I don't want to have happen is women, young women in the city, look to the government as a solution to put off having a family or a marriage because you're relying on the government to support you instead of being united with the husband where you can support yourself and your husband can support and you can guys all combine together. But I just find it so ironic and so interesting that a heavy percentage of the individuals that voted for him were female.
Okay, I have a couple of things to say about this, and I'm going to say it because apparently the people who are platforming Erica Kirk are not saying it. She is 37 years old. She had her first child in 2022. Do the math. She had her second child in 2024. Do the math again. She did not get married until she was in her mid-30s. Her career, as it were, was competing in the Miss Arizona pageant and then ultimately the Miss USA pageant, where she did not place. Not Miss America, which is, a scholarship fund. Miss USA, which was at a time owned by Donald Trump, and we all understand what that's all about. She didn't start dating Charlie Kirk until she was in her 30s. So I don't really want to hear lectures from her or from anybody about why women need to stop delaying marriage and stop delaying having children, and that they should do those things first and then focus on their career. She has a streetwear line, which I'm 100% positive she got because of who she was married to. I did not get married until very late in life. I did not have a child until I was almost 40. That's because I didn't meet the right person to marry until late in life. And I did not feel that I could have a child until I was in my late 30s because I didn't feel that I was financially secure enough to care for him. That's a fundamental responsibility that I felt as a parent that I needed to have. That I wasn't going to just have a kid to have a kid. That I was going to make sure that I could support that kid and give that kid everything he or she needed once I had him or her. And I don't want to be lectured by some nitwit from Arizona about what women in New York need.
Well, you know how I feel about this. When I saw it, I think the first words out of my mouth were, "This bitch. Is she for real?" First of all, I don't go into your white nationalist backyard and tell you
Yeah.
how to live your life, okay? So if you're gonna come to my city and you're gonna talk about me, a female voter who voted for Zohran Mamdani, I'm gonna have something to say. And, you know, I voted for Zohran Mamdani because, you know, last minute I felt it was the right thing to do because he's, you know, I haven't been a big fan of his and whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She is suggesting that young women voted for Zohran Mamdani in the city of New York overwhelmingly to replace husbands. What? What kind of psychobabble bullshit is that? She is such a dipshit. Like, honest to God, what in the Phyllis Schlafly? Who's watching your kids when you're touring around the country running your mouth, Erica Kirk? I'm sorry that your husband died. Truly, I am. It's an awful thing that happened. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. However, you have fallen into this position of CEO of this multi-million-dollar 501c4, 501c4, or is it a C3? No, it's a C. Is TV USA a C3?
I think it's both. But go
Okay,
ahead.
well, whatever. She has fallen into this position because of her proximity to her husband, who both have problematic worldviews. Erica Kirk, I got married when I was 33. I'm now 43. I haven't had children.
Did you vote for Zohran Mamdani, Michelle, to replace not having children?
Wow.
I mean,
yes.
that is basically that. I mean, did you have this empty hole in your heart that Zohran Mamdani filled for you? I mean, what a bunch of mean bullshit to say.
I can't. She's such a Regina George. She's like MAGA Regina George at this point, and I don't want to hear from her. And unfortunately, she keeps getting invited places, and she's not going away. And if I have to watch her dramatic readings of her thoughts and like the dramatic pauses and the, you know, I can't. She's so disingenuous. She is a fraud. She's full of shit. And she is out spewing a bunch of nonsense that she financially profits from. And that's the thing. She financially profits from this talking point because it is such a part of her business model. And well, yes, she's deeply religious and for whatever. I mean, listen. On top of having children, not having children is a choice. Or maybe it isn't for some people. Maybe you can or whatever. But for the most part, it's a choice. The average rent in the city of New York is $5,000 a month. Average. If you are going to have a child, you need childcare. Do people know how much childcare costs in this? I mean, first of all, in the country. All right. So there's number one. Number two, in the city of New York. It is astronomical. The reason people aren't having children is because they can't afford it. There is no infrastructure in place for people to have children. And in the United States, and specifically in places like New York City, families need 2 incomes to survive, not 1. 2, which means 2 working parents. And those families require help. They require daycare. Daycare is so expensive. And then you add in the cost of healthcare, which they are taking away from people as we speak. So spare me, Erica Kirk. Spare me your bullshit. Shut your mouth and stop telling us how we are supposed to live our lives, because I have had enough.
Well, let me also not forget to spare a moment to talk about what corporate media is doing. Not only did Andrew Ross Sorkin platform this bullshit, but it turns out that Barry Weiss, who is now running CBS and will soon be running CNN, she's the editor-in-chief of CBS News. Presumably, she's got stuff to do that doesn't involve this shit. She is scheduled to moderate a network town hall event with Erica Kirk soon. It will air on December 13th at 8 p.m. in prime time and will focus on, and I quote, grief, faith, politics, and more. It's going to be recorded here in New York City on December 10th.
Great.
I'm sorry. Are they giving a platform in prime time to
White nationalists? Yes.
To people who live in the reality-based community? No. They're platforming white nationalists. You know why? Because Barry Weiss has one predicate and one predicate only. She's obsessed with promoting the interests of Israel. God bless her. I have a lot of family in Israel. I want to see us thrive and prosper as well. But she only platforms people who agree with that worldview.
And
by Israel, I mean Netanyahu. I don't mean
right. Not
a difference of opinion from Netanyahu.
Right.
It's the current government of Israel.
Yes. And
that's all she cares about. And unfortunately, the evangelical movement in this country, because they want to wait for, the resurrection when all of the Jews will be converted, are very much on board with this bullshit.
And that's where, and listen, without getting all into this is why the evangelicals support Israel. It's not because they love Jews.
No,
it's not because they care about Jews. No. Most of them don't like Jews. They hate Jews. You find some of the most hateful and stereotypical anti-Semitic rhetoric coming out of their mouths. But Israel serves their causes for more than one reason.
Because the rapture is coming.
Yeah, the rapture, whatever, And Erica Kirk's husband, Charlie Kirk, was a supporter of Israel. Not necessarily Israel in the way that Julie is talking about it, Israel in the way that Bibi Netanyahu represents. And that was part of the fracture in that part, the youth part of the far-right MAGA, right? Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene wing of MAGA is deeply anti-Semitic. And with that anti-Semitism comes a deep hatred of Israel.
I see what Barry Weiss is doing. She's trying to lift up
the
Eric Kirk wing.
Yes.
But I'm
sorry. Try to drown that out.
There's also a reality-based wing in this country that's not getting a prime time opportunity on CBS. Like, are you kidding me?
Imagine that.
So we have to sit here and listen to this bullshit?
And you're going to come into my city.
Yep.
Where I mean, I know you've lived here longer than me, Julie, but like I moved here.
I don't know about that, actually, but go ahead.
Well, I've been here for 21 years.
Yeah.
And I moved to New York City with 3 suitcases and like $300 in my checking account. And I slept on couches. I watched people's cats. I didn't sign, I didn't sign my first lease, I think, until like 6 or 7 years into living here. Because I was subletting. I didn't have health insurance until I was almost 30. I worked many jobs. I auditioned. I worked in bars. I had one job where my job was to glue Swarovski crystals to T-Mobile sidekicks for like Lindsay Lohan. Like literally, this has been my life here, and I wouldn't go back and change any of it, really, as hard as it was, because it made me into the person that I am now. And I didn't meet somebody that I thought I could spend my life with until I was 30, 31 years old. And for a lot of people, it's a lot later than that. And that is okay. And you know what else? You might not meet that person at all. That is also okay. And that is the other part of this that drives me insane, is this talking point about the male loneliness epidemic. I'm like, no, there is a loneliness epidemic. It is not It is not male.
No.
Okay. And if I have to hear one more time that this is a specific issue that only pertains to men, because apparently we can't handle any issues or pay attention to them unless they're through the lens of a guy or a man. And Scott Galloway, God bless, I don't think he's a bad person. He's very, very smart, but a lot of what his message is bringing to the masses right now is extremely problematic because he goes on and on and on about talking about how young men who aren't in relationships are more apt to be extreme and be this and there's always a little bit of blaming women because it's like, well, women, they have great friendships and they have hobbies and they're happy and they ride their bikes and they have pets. And I'm like, yes, because we were raised, my generation and below, and I would probably some of Gen X at least, were raised to be self-sufficient and happy by ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to be able to function and emotionally regulate. These are the things we're taught as young women. And, I don't know if young men just aren't, or they weren't, or they can't handle like having to share more of the pie with the rest of the world. I don't know what it is, but for all the pulling up of the bootstraps, can the men do it too? Because I'm sick of this thing. And then I have to hear Erica Kirk basically go on a stage with Andrew Ross Sorkin, a legitimate person, speaking on behalf of the New York Times, the paper of record, to endorse this sentiment that women have to replace the absence of a husband by voting for Zohran Mamdani. Like, it's the most insane thing. Like, how dare you infantilize an entire group of voters, an entire group of human beings who are here, by the way, kicking ass. So, I've had this shit makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
Listen, I was living in New York City in my 30s, unmarried, with my little 5-pound Chihuahua Grimace. And let me tell you something. It was lonely. I had a lot of lonely days. There were a lot of days when, despite the fact that I had friends, I didn't really feel like I had anybody. And, there were a lot of times hanging out with my dog on my couch, watching a lot of Law and Order reruns.
Yeah.
For like 12 hours straight.
Yeah. Listen, that's why I got my cat.
Yeah. And wondering, like, what was ever going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go out and get radicalized.
Yeah, imagine.
And I didn't go out and say, let me vote for whoever the hell was running for mayor of New York at the time. It's actually Michael Bloomberg and Anthony Weiner and a whole bunch of other people. But I wasn't like, let me see how I can fill my loneliness by voting for somebody.
Yeah, how weird. You want to talk about people who are lonely, who vote for people to fill some sort of emotional void in their lives. It's people who vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, for real? They need like daddy to tell them what to do, or like they need daddy to make them feel good, or daddy to tell them it's okay to hate Black people. Like, get out of here. Like, honestly.
Listen, we all moved there's not one person, unless they were born in the trust fund, who didn't move to New York.
Right.
And struggle.
Struggled.
Struggle. It is tough in the city.
Yeah, that's why they say if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. That's
Yeah.
why that line in that
it's
song
tough.
exists.
And let me tell you something, Erica Kirk. I did make it. It's eventually. I was on the #1 show on the #1 cable news network in the country. And let me tell you something else. I still wasn't married and I still felt lonely. And it wasn't because I was filling the void with my job or my profession.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I didn't meet the right guy. And by the way, it's not like he fulfilled some need in me.
Right.
That was so over encompassing that I suddenly felt like my life was like, no.
Yeah. Because you should never be marrying anyone to.
You should never be marrying anybody for that.
Fill a hole in your, you know what I mean? Like, that's not why anyone should be marrying anybody.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
No.
If you want to have a good marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and I speak only for myself because I do, you have to be okay with yourself first.
Yeah, it's the oxygen mask theory, right? You have to put
Yeah.
the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on anyone else. And you have to be, you know, and listen, people get married for without doing that all the time. And God bless, you know, I wish you well, but you know, it's, you know, I also know plenty of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are
We're
single
great.
and
We're great.
like,
We're
listen,
great.
there's an account, I think it's on Instagram, and it's a roundup, and it's this person who goes around New York and interviews women in their 70s and 80s who are single. And it is so refreshing because they're all like, yeah, I don't need this. Like, you know, the reason I look so good is because, you know, I'm not having to take care of people and I'm not having, and you know
Yeah.
what, God, like whatever it is you want to do. But the thing is it is the audacity of this biatch coming into our backyard and trying to tell us how it is. Oh, I lived in Manhattan once. Oh, did you? You did? You lived in Manhattan? Well, you don't anymore. So mind your own business. Honest to God.
She was like, yeah, I mean,
I'm like, you lived here? Like this first time hearing of it. Okay.
well, yeah. She also, yeah, whatever. I'm glad she lives here. Great.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
Um,
Donald Trump lived here too, you know?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay.
So meanwhile, it's not just the New York Times, it's not just CBS. You also have this bullshit emanating from MS Now, which I thought was supposed to be a little bit more self-aware, but apparently not. Michelle, why don't you play that clip? Because that's also bullshit.
I want people to just listen closely. Listen closely.
Now, you heard I there say that the Somali American community has definitively made this community a better place. The president takes a different view, and the Somali diaspora here in Minnesota has been shrouded in controversy in recent years. It was recently found out that close to $1 billion have been stolen from Minnesota State Social Services and fraudulent schemes that were orchestrated in many instances by members of the Somali diaspora. But what Jacob Fry says is that the wrongdoing.
Did everybody pick up on that?
This reporter presents Trump's racism towards Somalis as merely a different view. A different view. That's how this is being characterized. Demonizing and othering and putting the lives of Somali immigrants in this country who are contributing to their communities and to society and to this country. And they are working and they are paying their taxes and they're trying to give their families a better life, just like everybody else. And Donald Trump has been running his mouth from the Oval Office, from the pulpit, saying that these people don't belong here. He's going to have them thrown out, that he's going to have Ilhan Omar like deported, putting their lives in danger. And MS Now has a reporter in the field who characterized this as Trump having a different view. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are starting Mayday and why we are sitting here right now as Americans in 2025 living in the country we do, is because the media has failed the American people in telling the truth and framing stories for how they actually are, not what they believe is palatable to people who will click and watch and tune in. It's a travesty.
It's a travesty. Travesty.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
starts with Morning Joe in the morning with that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way,
when you texted me this last night, I was howling.
You guys, how much time do we spend on this show trashing Morning Joe? I mean, we literally started the show because we were so disappointed in Morning Joe.
Yeah, right.
Like, we started the show because we're like, we need to give people an alternative to that bullshit. And we talk about that all the time on the show. If you watch the show, we talk about it religiously. Yesterday, I'm sitting working. I'm working out. I've been working nonstop. I've got stuff going on. And all of a sudden, I get this text, and it's like, "Hey, Julie, it's so and so, the producer from Morning Joe. Will you come on our show on Friday?"
Incredible.
I said, "Sure." Sure. It's not with Joe. It's the one before. Up, I don't even know what it's called, like Up Too Early or Too Early or Way Too Early.
Yeah, or it's yeah.
But the point is, it's part of the Morning Joe family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll come on your show, and then I'll go come back on my show. Your show is a fucking sellout.
What time's the car picking up?
I have no idea. I think we're supposed to be some time in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow. Who knows? They always cancel. It doesn't matter.
Rough.
I mean, like, seriously, are you kidding me with this bullshit? You're both siding this now? What we just saw?
Yeah. Different view.
Different view.
Mm-hmm.
Different view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's should we rewatch that Morning Joe video I made?
Yeah. Why don't you?
Let's just watch it. So guys, I made this. I don't know how long we've been doing the show now, a couple months. I made just like a super cut, and this is without the updates since then of the more apologizing that Mika and Joe have done for Donald Trump and the MAGA regime. So we'll just watch this and play it.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit.
In this meeting, President Trump was tearful. He was upbeat. He seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
Have you had any contact with him since that meeting, the two of you?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you have Trump back on?
Yeah, it's at some point.
You guys still talk?
We do. Yeah, we do. I mean, we've known each other for a very long time. We talk and communicate, and I try to get insight on what's going on.
I've heard from a lot of people that I respect a great deal, leaders who are really powerful, who just wanted to let me know that that was the right thing to do. I've seen, just like the very opposite happening online.
You'll be smarter, and you have been over the last several weeks, because of what we talked about with Donald Trump for an hour and a half. We got information on where they're going, and I do report that, just like great reporters at the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, Michelle, they went down to Mar-a-Lago, and the president was tearful and really was interested in finding common ground. That was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Has the president been tearful? Has he found common ground with Democrats?
Right.
Were they fucking owned by this guy again?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. I'm like, what?
It's not even like fool me once. It's not even fool me once, like shame on you. It's like fool me 20,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still going to go back for more because I want access.
Yeah. He used a whole lot of words that weren't access to explain why he wants access. Yeah. And for after they went down, so they told their audience, we went down, blah, 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 blah. And there was public outrage. People stopped watching the show, whatever. Joe Scarborough didn't like that because he thinks we're all stupid. And so he, in that last part of that video, if you hear, he's like shouting, he's angry, and he is yelling at his own audience, telling us how dumb we are because we don't get it. And if you look over at Mika, she's smirking. She's laughing because she's like, these people, we're doing them a favor by finding things out. What are you finding out? I'm sorry. I don't consider Joe Scarborough a journalist. He's not a journalist. He is a former congressman turned political pundit, which is great. Fine, be that. But don't be out here being like, I'm doing investigative. Like, stop. I'm not a journalist. I'm a commentator. That's why I'm here. I'm a person who was a political ad maker and content creator. And I'm here talking about it with Julie, who has spent decades working in politics.
We're
He's a
not journalists.
consultant.
I've never been a journalist, ever.
No. And so for him to consider himself one, and he has it, like, as journalists, huh? What? So he was yelling at his own audience for not understanding. And then he's gonna mansplain it to us. I'm like, listen, buddy, the country has spent the last 10 years being traumatized and abused by this man. And they tuned into your show for relief and for community and for catharsis and for answers, trying to make sense of all of this. And every day and every week on their show, they platformed women talking about abuse and sexual assault and fascism, and they called him a fascist. And they tried to tell the story to the American people why we should not choose this man again. All the reasons. And then the day after he's elected, they run their asses down there. Are you kidding me? And not to do like an exclusive, like hard-hitting interview. They went down to like chat. There were no cameras. We don't know what they talked about. We just have to go off their word. Do you believe them? I don't. So that's why we're here.
Lecture them about being mean to him, and they sat there and took it.
Yeah. Yeah. It sickens me.
He demeans women. He demeaned Mika. He talked about her facelift. He talked about her appearance. He talked about how she was dumb. And she still sat there and took it, because I know that she did not go down there and tell him, Mr. President-elect, at that point, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yep.
How dare you?
Because the second that he was reelected, they started running the tape through their own minds of everything that they had been saying, everything that they had been doing, and they were scared shitless that Donald Trump was going to come for him. And the thing about people like Mika and Joe that they don't understand, so I'm going to tell them what they don't understand, is that no amount of groveling, no amount of sycophancy is ever going to make Donald Trump be nice to you, because all it's going to take is one thing, or he's in a bad mood, or he's got to stick up his ass one day, and he's going to come for you. He comes for everybody. So you might as well stand up with some principles.
He's going to come for you.
Yeah, he will.
For all of us.
Everybody. So why not link arms with the rest of us and fight back?
And that applies to all of them. All of them. CBS, CNN.
Yes.
That's about to be acquired by the Ellisons, the same people that just acquired CBS. So Barry Weiss is going to be in charge of that too. Scott Jennings is going to have a show of his own, I'm sure. We'll hire Erin Burnett, probably, who I think has the best show on that network, because she is.
Oh, she's great.
She's great. She's great.
And listen, they lost Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta, great reporter.
Yep.
Great like Jim Acosta is a newsman. You know what I mean? Like he's a newsman, and a responsible and ethical one. And they got rid of him.
Yep.
And you know what? On the other side, Jim Acosta is having the time of his life. He's free. He can say whatever it is he wants. He has a very good life. But what a loss for the rest of the country.
For them, not for him.
And well, yeah. I mean, the rest of us can subscribe to Jim Acosta's Substack, which I hope everyone does. It's one of the few that I actually give money to, spend money to subscribe to. Jim Acosta is a lovely person and so smart, and like is the kind of person we can trust to bring us, important information. He is a journalist. Jim Acosta is a journalist, not Joe Scarborough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, over in Washington, D.C., Pete Hegseth got slapped by the Pentagon, literally by his own agency, for that little Signal Gate disaster from a few months ago.
I pulled a video from PBS NewsHour.
Yeah, why don't you play that?
Let's play this. Yeah.
Pentagon watchdog report has found that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth put U.S. service members at risk when he used the Signal messaging app to discuss a military strike in Yemen earlier this year. His use of Signal came to light when a journalist was accidentally added to a chat that gave sensitive real-time updates about a strike against Houthi militants. Nick Schifrin is here to walk us through what we know. So, Nick, what did the Pentagon watchdog find?
So this is an investigation by the Department of Defense's Inspector General, mandated by Congress. It took him months. And according to a person who has read this document, the Inspector General found that the messages that the Secretary transmitted were, quote, secret, no foreign. The definition of that classification level is that unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause serious damage to national security, and it can't be shared with foreigners. And the Inspector General went on to say, if those messages had been intercepted, it would have endangered U.S. service members and the mission. And the reason the Inspector General has concluded this is that Hegseth was, as you just said, narrating or really previewing upcoming strikes into Yemen against Houthi rebel leaders on a Signal chat, where Atlantic editor-in-chief and Washington Week moderator Jeffrey Goldberg had been accidentally added. And the detail was extraordinary. Times, the types of weapons, exactly who was going to be flying toward Yemen, exactly when. And they concluded, quote, we are currently clean on OPSEC, short for operational security. A former senior military official told me this, Jeff, today, and this was just echoed by the Senate Armed Services Committee top Democrat Jack Reed, that if a lower-level service member provided that level of information before the launches of manned aircraft with pilots inside those cockpits, that service member would have been court-martialed and discharged.
How is the Pentagon responding to all of this?
The Pentagon points to other results inside the Inspector General's findings, including these. The Secretary can declassify anything as he sees fit. And that suggests that Secretary Hegseth's defense is that what he was writing, he was declassifying essentially as he wrote it. The Inspector General also said the Secretary provided a small handful of Signal messages to the IG, but not others. Hegseth declined an interview with the Inspector General, and he informed the Inspector General that he considers this investigation completely partisan.
I mean,
duh. What more is there to say? What more is there to say? They fired the previous Inspector General.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy they replaced him with.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear. And Pete Hegseth, for all that he's talking about this being partisan, this is their Inspector General.
Right.
It's not some Biden leftover.
Right.
It's mandated by Congress. Mm-hmm. And what's partisan about it? We all saw what we saw. We all read what we read.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to say that he can simultaneously declassify stuff, I don't know, maybe. But he's put American lives in danger by committing murder in the Caribbean through the Signal thing. It's absurd. It's absurd. And meanwhile, Michelle, in case they are still living in some delusion that everything is hunky-dory in this country, Politico just released a poll this morning that says that almost half of all voters, almost half, say the cost of living in the United States is the worst they can ever remember. And that is a view that is held by 37% of 2024 Trump voters. Almost half, 46%, are now saying that the affordability crisis, which Donald Trump thinks is a hoax, is Trump's responsibility. They say that it's his economy now and his administration is responsible for the cost they struggle with.
I mean, this is why they're trying to gerrymander and rig the election and soften the blow of and normalize military in the street so that they can try and fix the elections next year because they know what's coming. They know.
They know what's coming. But I'm going to also say this. You have this complete split screen of Americans, including such a large number of Trump voters, saying they've had it. They've had it on the economy, but they've also had it more broadly. And on the other split screen, you have business as usual in Washington, with Pete Hegseth saying that he did nothing wrong, throwing this Admiral Frank Mitch, I guess he goes by Mitch, but Admiral Bradley under the bus, saying that he was responsible for this double tap, despite the fact that Hegseth allegedly gave the kill them all order.
Right.
And he was saying that he had many important things to do, so he didn't stick around to watch the second strike. Okay. Well, it's interesting because Admiral Bradley is going to be privately briefing senior members of Congress today on that attack.
Oh, today. That's right. Today's Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, to bring it back to your former colleague at Fox News, Megyn Kelly. Did you see what she said about the boats?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this with Mark Halperin, I believe, right? Who's
Mark Halperin. He's got
a disgrace on his own.
A problem too, but yeah.
Extremely problematic man for many reasons.
I really do kind of not only want to see them killed in the water, whether they're on the boat or in the water, but I'd really like to see them suffer. I would like Trump and Hegseth to make it last a long time so that they lose a limb and bleed out a little. Like, I'm really having a difficult time ginning up sympathy for these guys who 10 seconds earlier almost got taken out by the initial bomb, but because they managed to get ejected, a little too soon, had to be taken out in the water. I realize legally it may make a difference, but truly, Mark, this is a tough case to really gin up the sympathies of the American people.
Yeah. She's a lawyer. And a monster. Because I believe every word that's coming out of her mouth. I think she actually thinks that. And meanwhile, the family of a Colombian fisherman killed in one of these strikes has filed a complaint alleging that the United States military, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, murdered him. I'm just going to read this here. The family of a Colombian man who was killed in a U.S. military strike on a boat in the Caribbean has lodged a complaint against the United States with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. The family of 42-year-old Alejandro Carranza Medina, who was killed on September 15th, rejected assertions that there were any drugs on the vessel targeted in Washington's anti-narcotics military campaign and insisted he was a fisherman just doing his job on the open sea. Quote, "We know that Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense, was responsible for ordering the bombing of boats like those of Alejandro Carranza Medina and the murder of all those on such boats," reads the complaint seen by AFP on Wednesday. There will be more of this.
Let's just be really clear that I don't know whether there were drugs on that boat or not.
Yeah.
We have seen no evidence that there were drugs on that boat. We have seen no evidence that these fishermen were doing anything other than fishing off the coast of Venezuela. But let's give this administration every benefit of the doubt to say that these people had loaded their boats up with cocaine,
Right.
or whatever they're accusing them of having in that boat.
It's still.
So what?
Right.
So what?
Let the Coast Guard arrest them.
Let the Coast Guard arrest them, provided that they are off our coast trying to send this to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do with drug dealers.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you something. There are drug dealers right this very moment in the schools
Yeah.
of some of the kids of some of these people who are baying for their blood.
Oh, yeah.
And those kids are white, and those kids are
Mhm.
rich. And those kids got their hands on coke somewhere, and those kids are selling coke to their friends because that's what they're doing.
Right.
People who come over to your house and hang out with your kids.
Yeah.
People whose parents you see at the supermarket or at the gym. Do you believe that they should be murdered?
Mhm.
I mean, maybe you do believe that, but I think you probably would believe that first they get their due process, and
Yeah.
then if you want to murder them, go ahead and move to a state with a death penalty for this kind of thing, which I don't think exists. But to do this, because they're little brown people in their minds, they don't.
Yeah.
Count. They're not real. They're human garbage. The same way the Somalis, according
Right.
to Donald Trump,
Garbage.
Minnesota
Garbage.
are garbage. They're not on the same level as the rich people who deal drugs.
Mm-hmm.
At every single party in New York City. By the way, The amount of cocaine that I saw when I worked at a certain network that was being consumed by people there in order to stay skinny
Oh yeah.
cannot be underscored enough.
The amount of cocaine,
The amount of cocaine flowing through any New York City party, including the parties of where some of these people.
Yes, it's
are.
everywhere. It's everywhere. I don't know about anymore. I mean, I don't really go out really much anymore, but like in my 20s and even in my 30s, I saw a lot of it. And especially when I worked in bars. Now, mind you, the service industry has its own problem. But I worked at a bar in Murray Hill from 2006 to 2009. This was through the financial crisis. And it was like a barbecue restaurant that it was like all women who worked there. And so it was like a lot of like finance guys, like, midtown finance guys would come in. And let me just tell you, the stories they would tell me when they'd have a couple drinks and the amount of drugs that they would do. There was one guy who told me that he would get up in the morning, go to the office, put cocaine in his coffee at like 5, 6 in the morning to be able to get up and have a few hours before the markets opened.
Oh.
And then to get through the day and then have more cocaine and then go to the bar after and do more so that they could let off a little steam to like live their lives and then go home and do it all over again. This was during the financial crisis, especially 2008. And that's one of like a bajillion stories like that. And so I say that like these are rich guys, rich, and white.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
Which I probably shouldn't. And I'm going to leave the
Think
names.
about it first.
Well, I'm going to redact the names of the story. People figure this out on their own, they can. I once attended a party at the home of a person who is now a high-ranking Trump administration official.
Ooh.
Not Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
Not Pete Hegseth. And at this person's house were a lot of other people like this person. And this was about over 15 years ago. Right around the same time as the financial crisis, actually at the same time that you're working at this bar.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of cocaine that was being done in that house. Now, I have zero evidence that the person who was hosting this party, who now is a high-ranking Trump administration official, was aware of this. But I can't believe that that person was not aware of it because it was just so out in the open and prevalent. And these are the same people who are now defending what is happening in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, the coke was flowing, my friends, flowing. And that cocaine did not get there from the cocaine tree. That cocaine got there because some drug dealer sold it to the people who were
right. Yeah. Some delivery service.
Yeah. It was a delivery service
that
literally delivered.
Yeah. Which like there is a whole industry of cottage industry in New York of that too.
Cottage industry.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get anything delivered in New York.
Yeah. I mean, you can get anything.
It's like, like Uber Eats plus, So right. I just want to be very clear that the fucking hypocrisy.
Right. That's the point.
That I'm hearing right now is just absurd. It's just absurd. And I am somebody who hates, like I am telling you guys, I'm not a Mormon, but I live like one. Michelle can vouch. I don't really drink that much. This is decaf tea. I don't even drink caffeine. I hate drugs. Like I'm one of those, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And I have a friend right now who's going through a deeply horrible drug addiction. Deeply horrible, where I'm watching this from the sideline.
It destroys more lives than just the person. It destroys lives.
Destroys the lives and the businesses of I cannot begin to tell you how destructive this is. So I am not here to defend drugs. I'm here to say that if you are a drug dealer, you should go to court. You should be proven to be a drug dealer and then let justice take its course.
Right.
But to say that these people who are if you give them all the benefits of the doubt, were riding around with the coke that somebody was going to deal to the people, to the friends of the very people who are now accusing these people of God knows what and believe that they should be torn limb to limb, is absurd.
It's absurd.
I want to stress that Megyn Kelly was not at that party.
Okay. Well,
But-
yeah.
But
It's
but a lot of her colleagues were.
right. And that's the other thing and I mentioned this kind of briefly the other day, the fentanyl part of this. Now, I'm probably going to sound like a dork. I really don't know the drug things these days, but from what I was reading in the New York Times, speaking of like delivery services, there was a one particular delivery service in New York that had dropped off cocaine at like the apartments of 3 different people. All, I believe they were all white. One was like a young woman who worked in a corporate something. She was going to hang out with a couple of friends. One was some other guy. All of them died that night. All of them. Because there was fentanyl in their cocaine. Now, this is not something that I remember hearing about back in the day. This is like a new thing. And like, so maybe I'm like, this is a problem. Like it's the drug part is its own problem, but then
it's a
serious problem.
I have a 13-year-old I'm raising in New York. Like I talk about this all the time. This is
why
problem.
Yeah, this is another reason why they tell people, just anybody, if you can carry Narcan in your bag, know how to use it. You just never know what you're going to run into. So this is a serious problem. But again, if these drug boats, it's like, and this is the thing, it's like it's a twofer, right? The strike itself is illegal. It violates international and domestic laws. And then that double tap, that second strike, after there were survivors and they were injured, was also illegal. So there's 2 things that happen here. And now Pete Hegseth, they can't get their story straight. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. First, they did it, and then they didn't do it. And then I don't know what you're talking about. And then I wasn't there. And then, oh no, it wasn't me, it was the admiral. And our admiral is a great admiral, and I stand behind him. And but I wasn't in the room. Pete Hegseth shot this tweet off yesterday. Sean Parnell, who's I think like the deputy something or other over there. He's a clown. He tweeted that this Inspector General review is total exoneration of Pete Hegseth, no classified information, total exoneration, case closed. Houthis bombed into submission. Thank you for your attention to this IG report. I'm first of all, the lady doth protest too much. He knows he knows he's messed up. I think he has messed up so many times.
He knows he's a fraud. His whole life has been about pretending to be something that he's not.
Right.
He knows it. That's the tragedy of Pete Hegseth. There are people out there who, like it's actually sad because there are people out there who don't know what they don't know, and they go out there with this crazy confidence.
I've never understood people like that. I have the opposite problem.
Yeah. Whereas Pete Hegseth knows, I'm telling you, he knows. And I think he felt like a fraud from the moment he set foot at Princeton to the moment that he set foot at every company he ever ran into the ground, to the moment he set foot at Fox, to now the moment he set foot at the Pentagon. He is like a guy who's one step ahead of the law his entire life. I don't mean the law legally. I mean like that notion.
Right.
Somebody who's like one step ahead of being exposed, I think is how he feels. And so you got to just continue. It's like, you know what it is? It's like, what was that? God, the talented Mr. Ripley. That's who he is. He's like, he's basically the talented Mr. Ripley. He is one step ahead of getting busted for being a fraud.
It's like Moody Vance. It's, they're all like this.
They're all like this. And I just, it's actually sad in some ways because I think like, listen, if he and Jen Roche, his wife, who again, I also knew, if they're like happy together now, like great, go be happy together. Like I'm happy if he's happy. But the point is why are you constantly trying to be somebody that you're not? You know,
Right.
you're a fraud. Go do the hard work of actually
Do
learning
the
about it.
work.
Do the work.
This is the thing. And I said this the other day about, you know, Kash Patel and his little jacket, right? His little costume that he likes. And how, you know, they don't want to do the work, they just want to wear the costume. They don't want to do the work, they just want the trophy. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the decades of training, education, blood, sweat, and tears to win the Masters tournament. They just want the green jacket. And they want to be celebrated as though they did do all of that work. And that is at the root of Trumpism, really, you know, aside from the cruelty and everything else, is like that. It's just cheap.
It's just awful.
It's cheap and tacky and soulless, and it is this instant gratification, you know, world that we live in now. And and it's all perpetuated by, again, like Donald Trump's entire image was reinvented by Mark Burnett and Celebrity Apprentice. Donald Trump is a person who has failed his entire life. He had everything handed to him. And, you know, he in the eyes of his father was a failure.
Yep.
And he was bankrupt. He had bankrupt casinos. He had filed for bankruptcy, like 5, I forget how many times. I always forget. It's like 6 times, 5 times, something like that.
Yep.
And then they gave him a TV show that made him look like a strong businessman who knew what he was doing. And they gave him a script, and they gave everybody else around him a script, and they rolled the cameras, and they shot it from the, you know, the conference room in Trump Tower. And now, because of that, the country didn't learn what the rest of us knew who grew up in the tri-state area, that Donald Trump is a fraud and he's a con man. And now it's like the entire government is run by frauds and con people.
And on that note, you guys, I got to go because I have a 9 a.m. phone call.
Yes. I just want to say really quick, go check the news. There's breaking news. FBI has arrested the person who planted the pipe bomb on the eve of January 6th. We all know that photograph. Go read about this. Maybe we'll do a little daily dispatch about this later. Julie's got to go.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.